Someday at Christmas, men won't be boys, playing with guns like kids play with.
Viewers across the country were stunned tonight after a 10-year-old contestant delivered a performance that many are still calling a once-in-a-generation moment. In a moment that quickly became a national headline, Jackie Evancho stepped onto the America's Got Talent stage during Season 5 looking as unassuming as any young contestant. But what followed would immediately ignite public conversation and dominate social media feeds. Her audition piece, the classical aria O mio babino caro, is not typically attempted by singers her age, let alone performed live before millions. Yet from the first sustained note, audience members inside the theater appeared visibly taken aback, while online viewers would later describe the moment as unreal and history-making. As judges exchanged surprised glances, it became clear that the performance was breaking expectations. The newsroom quickly picked up on the story, a child delivering vocal range and control that resembled a seasoned professional. Even in the hours following the broadcast, opinion columns and entertainment reports began analyzing the unusual maturity of her tone, questioning how such vocal power could emerge from an artist so young. And as nationwide interest continued building, another detail emerged that fueled even more discussion. Jackie had been a last-minute online audition choice, raising an even sharper contrast between expectation and reality. But as reaction grew, so did the theories behind it. And that was only the beginning. Immediately after the broadcast, experts began weighing in, and not all of them believed what they heard. Following her audition, media analysts and vocal coaches began publicly evaluating the performance, and many of their assessments ranged from awe to open skepticism. While some praised the clarity, purity, and unexpected emotional weight in her voice, others questioned whether such tone could truly come from a child live on stage. This led to a wave of speculation across entertainment forums and comment sections. Newsrooms reported that a few viewers suspected a backing track or pre-recorded enhancement, a rumor that spread quickly but was never supported with evidence. Yet the fact that it spread at all highlighted how unusual the moment was. Classical vocalists noted that her breath control, vibrato stability, and tonal placement appeared far more advanced than her age group typically demonstrated. The reporting continued. Critics acknowledged her ability, while also noting that rapid fame often brings long-term pressure. But regardless of the debate's direction, one fact remained consistent across newspapers and TV reviews. The performance had reshaped public expectations for AGT talent. And as this conversation grew louder, a different challenge for Jackie began forming behind the scenes. As the public fascination intensified, a new concern began circulating in industry newsrooms. How would a young artist handle a national spotlight this bright? In the weeks following her audition, Jackie Evancho's name circulated across mainstream news outlets, trending charts, and entertainment columns. Reporters noted that the transition from an unknown singer to a nationally recognized figure had happened with remarkable speed. But the sudden rise raised questions about sustainability, particularly for someone so young. Analysts pointed out that child performers frequently face pressure to maintain a level of skill that audiences expect to expand with age. Meanwhile, cultural critics debated whether the emotional qualities of her singing were a natural expression or the product of exceptional technical training. In interviews, the Evancho family emphasized balance, schooling, and stability, but journalists continued reporting on the challenges of fame at a formative age. Some headlines suggested that the weight of national attention can complicate artistic development, especially when major industry players begin offering opportunities that normally involve years of preparation. Still, Jackie's rising visibility was undeniable. And yet, despite all the commentary surrounding her future, one moment would soon eclipse everything that had come before. During the live shows, one specific moment sent shockwaves through the audience, one that reporters would revisit long after the season ended. When Jackie returned to the stage for her next major performance, the reaction was even stronger. This was the moment that many entertainment outlets later described as the emotional peak of the season. Viewers inside the venue sat almost motionless as she delivered a performance that seemed to silence the room. Journalists covering the event reported that the judges' expressions reflected an unusual combination of disbelief and admiration, while the audience erupted into an immediate standing ovation. Eyewitness accounts described the atmosphere as electric, noting that even the usually energetic live show environment had shifted into something more reverent. News outlets replayed the moment repeatedly, analyzing the single sustained note that seemed to define the performance's emotional center. Critics emphasized that while technique was impressive, the deeper impact came from the sense of sincerity and vulnerability in her delivery. The story continued to unfold in headlines across the country, but the aftermath of that night wouldn't just be praise, it would become a career-defining turning point. In the days following the performance, record labels, producers, and media outlets moved quickly, the kind of rapid response typically reserved for headline-level discoveries. Jackie's momentum immediately translated into real-world opportunities. Entertainment reporters documented her swift entry into professional recording, noting that her early albums charted with unusual success for an artist of her age. News coverage highlighted not only her vocal achievements, but also the pressures that come with becoming a recognized figure in classical crossover music. Analysts pointed out that the classical genre demands long-term training and adaptability, and Jackie now faced expectations far beyond those of typical young artists. Editorials discussed the challenges of transitioning from prodigy to established performer, a shift that often determines the longevity of young talents. Commentators also examined the industry's tendency to elevate child performers quickly, sometimes without the structural support required to protect long-term growth. Yet despite these concerns, her successes continued and public interest remained high. But as she grew older, new developments began emerging, ones that reporters approached with greater nuance. Years later, news outlets returned to a familiar question: how does Jackie Evancho view that early moment now? More recent interviews revealed that Jackie often reflects on her AGT breakthrough with a mix of gratitude and perspective. Reporters covering her later work noted that she acknowledges both the opportunities and the pressures that came with early fame. As entertainment journalism revisited her AGT journey, discussions emerged about how the competition shaped her identity as an artist. Analysts observed that although she finished as the season's runner-up, her impact arguably outlasted the final rankings. News articles emphasized that her performance continues to circulate widely online, resurfacing regularly among lists of the most memorable or emotional AGT moments. Meanwhile, public interest shifted toward her artistic development, personal reflections, and ongoing creative work. As discussions evolved, one theme became consistent across reporting. Her debut performance remained a cultural reference point, not just for AGT, but for televised talent competitions in general. And today, that legacy continues to spark conversation about unexpected brilliance appearing in the most unlikely moments. Across national broadcasts, editorial columns, and entertainment analysis, Jackie Evancho's early appearance on America's Got Talent stands as a rare intersection of talent, timing, and public reaction. While many performers have delivered powerful moments on the AGT stage, few have generated the level of sustained attention her audition and follow-up performance received. Reporters continue to revisit the event as a defining benchmark of the show's history, an instant when the atmosphere shifted, the audience collectively paused, and a young singer delivered a performance remembered long after the season ended. And long after the applause faded, the conversation, both in newsrooms and among viewers, remains very much alive.